I work with a garden construction company who get loads of leads from LinkedIn. I work with a jewelry company that get loads of leads from LinkedIn. I work with an interior design company who get loads of leads from LinkedIn. So, it's not just about business to business. Welcome to the 7-day weekend. Hello and welcome to the 7-day weekend. Now, in previous videos, I've been talking about the top 6 lead generation strategies that are probably the most cost-effective lead generation strategies there are. In other words, these are strategies that cost little or no money. Now, I'm not suggesting that they don't take any time, but they cost little or no money. Now, the next one that I want to talk about is LinkedIn. Now, LinkedIn is an amazing platform because if you think about it, it's not just business owners that are on that platform. Loads and loads of people are on that platform. I would like you to think about LinkedIn from this perspective. Think about LinkedIn as if it was one great big networking event. And some of the principles that I'm going to be talking about that work really well on LinkedIn are the same sorts of principles that work really well in networking. So let's think about this. LinkedIn, the platform, is designed on that whole premise that you're only 6 people away from anybody that you want to meet in the world. And they have 3 degrees. So you've got your first line connections, your second line connections, and your third line connections. So the objective is to have first line connections, because the first line connections are people that you can actually communicate with, either via message, or sometimes they'll put their contact details on there as well, so you can contact them by email or you can contact them by telephone. But please make sure that if you do use their email address, you are referencing the fact that you got their email address by being connected with them on LinkedIn. But the most traditional way that people use LinkedIn is by direct messaging, which is a great way of speaking to new connections and should not be avoided just because loads of other people are using it as a way of spamming people. It's still a great way to keep in touch with people or to start a conversation or a relationship. I think what's most important though is to begin with is if you think about it as a networking event, if you like, think about how you're showing up at that networking event and think about how you're showing up on LinkedIn. In other words, what does your profile look like? So it's really important to make sure that your profile is appropriate and it is correct and it is appealing to your target market, if you like. Now, what I see with most people when they are constructing a LinkedIn profile is they make it all about them. Well, yeah, of course, that's what your instinct would tell you to do because it's looks a little bit like a CV, doesn't it? This is me, this is my profile, this is all about me. Well, the challenge there is that if it's all about you, it's not about them. In other words, it's not about your customers. It's not about your potential customers. It's not about your potential contacts. So how do we change up our LinkedIn profile to make sure that we're more appealing to our target market? Well, the simplest thing to do is to think about every line in your LinkedIn profile. Think about how is the reader going to consume that line? what are they going to get from it? So if you've just got your name and next to your name it's your job title, well, what does that mean to them? What about instead of just putting your name and job title, putting something in there about what you actually do for people? In other words, what benefits they get from working with you, and maybe what type of people as well. So for example, I'll give you an example. I used to have a ventilation business, and when my ventilation business, we solved condensation and mold problems. Now I knew that a lot of people that were looking at my profile on LinkedIn, because you can always see who's looking at your profile, were landlords and letting agents. And that was my target market. But I wanted to make sure I got lots of landlords and letting agents looking at my profile. So in my profile, it had my name and it had underneath that what benefits I offer and for whom. So guaranteed lifetime solutions to condensation and mold for letting agents and landlords, not Stuart Wright ventilation specialist. Because what does that tell anybody? It doesn't tell them anything of any value to them. So think about your profile. How are you describing yourself? Just in that very, very small top box, because when you send a connection link to somebody, that's all they're going to see. And literally, you've got a couple of seconds to catch their attention. So you really want to catch their attention by putting somewhere in your profile, right at the very top, what's in it for me? In other words, what's in it for them? What are they going to get by connecting with you? So I hope that makes sense to begin with. Get your profile absolutely right. Now here, look, I can't cover how to make a great LinkedIn profile in depth in this video right here and now. And what I want to do is actually, I want to show you some examples of how to create a great LinkedIn profile. So in future videos, I'm going to be showing you exactly how to create an amazing LinkedIn profile that's going to make you more attractive to your target market. So please come back and get that stuff. But for now, let's talk about how LinkedIn works in a networking sense. So if you think about it, every time you go to a networking event, you're going to meet some new people. And it's the same on LinkedIn. Imagine somebody wants to connect with you on LinkedIn. Do you decide you're going to accept or reject that connection request? What is it that makes you decide whether or not you're going to accept or reject that connection request? Well, for many of us, we look at that connection request and we think, I don't want to connect with this person because they're probably going to sell me something. Now, you may or may not be right, okay? But you're never going to know unless you connect with them. Now, if you connect with them and they try and sell you something straight away and they're spamming you and you think this is not going anywhere, this is not where I want to be, you can remove the connection. So what have you got to lose? But actually, if somebody does connect with you, there might be a reason why they want to connect with you. Would you not like to know what that reason is? Imagine going up to somebody at a networking meeting and they go to shake your hand and introduce themselves to you, and you then accept that handshake and shake back, and then both of you walk off in the different direction without saying anything to each other. That's basically what you're doing on LinkedIn. If someone sends you a connection request and you connect and then do nothing with it. So surely if somebody connects with you, maybe you wait until they then make the next move and give you a reason as to why they've connected, or take that to the next step. Or maybe then you go back to them and say, hey, listen, thank you for connecting. Would it be okay if I asked you, what was it that inspired you to connect with me? Now, it's really interesting the kind of results when you start doing that, because actually there may be a really good reason. It may be that they're interested in your products and services, which would be great. It may well be that they know somebody that's interested in your products and services, or may know somebody that's interested in your products and services. Or it may well be that they think you've got connections that might be valuable to them. Now, that would be a good thing for you, because if you can become valuable to them, then the law of reciprocity suggests that if you are of value to them, then they will be of value to you. In other words, they will want to reciprocate if you do something nice for them. Remember, networking is all about building referrals for other people. Okay, there's probably an expectation for all of us that if we build referrals for other people, we're going to get some back. And you would be right. But don't make the expectation the most important thing. If you do, and you don't get your expectations met, then you are likely to recoil from it and decide that that's not a great strategy. But actually, you know what? The more you give, the more you will get back. And sometimes you get it back years later, sometimes months later, and sometimes weeks later. So don't have the mindset that unless you get something directly back from the person that you've given to, that you're going to stop doing it. And that's the thing about LinkedIn. You know, a great thing to do on LinkedIn is when you make a connection with somebody, you know, just treat it as if you were at a face-to-face networking event, and be you, be real, be human. Say, hey, you know, your business looks really interesting. You know, how is business at the moment? How are you doing on LinkedIn? Are you finding that you're getting referrals? Have a look through my profile, and if there's anybody on here that you would like an introduction to, let me know. We'll get to know each other a little bit better before I pass you a referral, but maybe there's people that I know that you might like to be introduced to. Now, I wouldn't suggest that you just make a connection to any random person that you've met on LinkedIn, but actually it may well be that that whole premise gets you to the stage where you're actually having a one-to-one with that person in person or on Zoom, or you're having a telephone call with them, and now you're taking that relationship off of LinkedIn and making it real. And that's just exactly the same as you would be doing at a networking event. This person might be a really great strategic alliance for you. Most people keep their profiles open so you can see who their connections are. You can go through the connections of your newly acquired connection, first party connection, and see if there's any people in there that you would like an introduction to. Maybe your next best customer is amongst those connections. So wouldn't it be a good idea to start that relationship moving so that you and that new person that you've met on LinkedIn can start to help each other by generating referrals from one another. So try and make your networking on LinkedIn all about giving, and I'm absolutely certain that you will receive as well. Now, I'm going to go into LinkedIn strategy in a lot more detail in future videos. I just wanted to give you a taste of what I think are the top things that you need to consider and the mindset that you need to have when you're going into LinkedIn to generate new leads. A don't on LinkedIn is sell. Do not sell to people on LinkedIn. Nobody wants to be sold to, and it's just not going to work. A do is post stuff. Give stuff away of value to your network. Don't worry about giving stuff away. If you think that you've got something that you need to protect, you're wrong. Pretty much all the information that we are ever going to need to be as successful as we ever would want to be is already out there. Today, our challenge is not about information, it's about implementation. So don't worry about giving away your information. Do it because that makes you a valuable person. The more value you give on a platform like LinkedIn, the more people will want to resonate with you, the more that people will want to connect with you and listen to what you've got to say. And also, don't necessarily make it all about you, your business. Make it about you. You know, some of the posts that get the most views are the human posts, the posts about, you know, what you're doing with your family, okay? Splice your posts, all of your business posts with some of that personal stuff, because then that makes you real. Then people get to know, like, and trust you. And that's what really social media is all about. Okay, look, I can't cover too much more here today on LinkedIn, but I'm going to drill into some of the real nuggets that I think you're going to really enjoy and you're going to be able to take away and utilize in your business in future videos. So please subscribe to my channel now, set your notifications. I'll let you know when these videos are up and running, and you can come back and get all of that stuff for free, and share it with as many business owners as you possibly can as well, because you know what? As business owners, there's nobody else is going to help us, so we have to help each other. Thanks for listening, and I hope to see you again soon.
Would I be all right putting a link up to your LinkedIn page at the end of that film? And asking people to say hello?
Yeah, definitely. Great idea.